Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read Part 3 and the finale of Death Below. Let's begin. Riley and I only had so much air left, so Allison scouted out ahead to find some kind of alcove. It took several minutes, but she did lead us to somewhere above, where there was a large air pocket. We had to climb up into a little continuation of the cave, but it was dry ground for now. It may have been quite exposed, but the area with the floodlights didn't seem safe enough to go back to yet. We laid Fairweather down on the ground here. It seemed that we were safer for now. Jared helped Riley fasten some temporary solutions for her armor and injuries.
"Start talking, suit,"
Riley spat.
"I could start yelling. Those things would be here in seconds,"
he said.
"Do that, and we'll leave you. Seems like based on what Henderson said, you'd be just as much as a delectable meal to those things as we are,"
Allison said. I pulled something from Fairweather's belt. It was another waterproof tablet, like ours, with slots for devices on the side. I tried to unlock it, but it was password protected, of course.
"What's the password?"
I said. Fairweather paused, but soon gave in.
Unit 089-907.
Everyone else looked at me as I entered Fairweather's password. I dimmed the screen as far as it would go.
"Something catch your eye, Alex?"
Allison said. I opened my waterproof pouch. Then I held up my flash drive to her.
"Remember this? It's what Miles gave me right before he was drunk off by security. I have a feeling we should have looked into it sooner."
"That thing? I thought you threw it away,"
Riley said. I glanced at Allison as she narrowed her eyes.
"Didn't we discuss you throwing that away?"
she said. I shrugged.
"I just thought... I don't know. But let's discuss it later. I feel as though there's something we should see."
I plugged the drive into the tablet and a window popped up. The drive was named Evidence, and it had one folder called Documents with a video file called Alpha Squad. I showed everyone else and explained what Jared, Riley, and I had seen up there in the Citadel. How there had been more squads before us, about Miles and Margaret West. Allison was pointedly silent. Margaret was her family too, I found out later. We searched the folder titled Documents. It contained records of the Alpha, Beta, and Charlie squad's endeavors down here, with HQ's biggest fancy logo in each legally binding corner. There were lists of names, and I recognized some of them. Margaret West, Oliver May, Rachel Hiker, and Sam Walker. Alpha and Beta squads. Then there was Miles West in the Charlie team.
"Most of these were bodies tied to crosses,"
I said.
"Miles was the guy who gave me this flash drive at HQ.
"The paper trail is there, but it doesn't make sense. What's this all for?"
Riley said. Fairweather was silent.
"Should we watch the video, sync it up to our local comms?"
Jared said. I did just that and we started up the file. It showed the group shots first. These were essentially mugshots, taken to be filed away for records like this later. It showed each member of the Alpha Squad, Margaret West, Oliver May, Rachel Hiker, and Paulo Rodriguez. Paulo. I had seen his face before, or what was left of it when that creature was using him as a puppet. The Alpha Squad went through an almost identical training as we had, though it seemed that the execs weren't lying to them about being the first squad to enter the caves. One major difference is that they didn't have a cave-in like us. The group traveled through the caverns, set up camp, and headed right into the city.
"Here we are,"
Margaret, the person recording, said. Her helmet captured the great expanse of the underground city. What could be seen in the dark water anyways?
Look at this place,
Paulo said, swimming past the camera. We forwarded through Alpha Squad's exploration until they landed in the city's largest building, the Citadel. Inside was the vast array of well-preserved murals. The Latin characters were only somewhat clear. The murals on the wall were the same, depicting the image of 9 8-sided crucifixes hung with bodies. The actual crucifixes on the wall were empty, though. A major difference was that there was some kind of pedestal in the middle, a sort of center of worship, it seemed. It hadn't been there when we were there. A golden, gleaming artifact shone with the passing helmet lights.
What is that?
Oliver asked. He walked up to it and stared, but didn't touch it. The last member of Alpha Squad passed the frame, Rachel.
Don't touch anything,
she said.
What's wrong? Scared of the local legends? Come on, think about how much this thing is worth.
Paulo teased. The object appeared to be solid gold, with a gem in the chest. It was a 1.5-foot tall rendition of some winged creature with 8 limbs. The gem in the center of it reflected their lights.
Wow, look at this thing,
Paulo said and climbed up.
Paulo, what are you doing?
Said Margaret. He pried the object from the pedestal. It had been locked there by some kind of mechanism. He had to twist it, but it seemed to click as he did so.
This statue must be worth millions.
He was cut off by a slash. The statuette had ejected a sort of ritual blade that lodged in Apollo's hand. He bled on it, and the gem in the chest seemed to absorb it. Paulo was screaming.
What's going on?
There was a blur of action and screaming in the scene. The video soon paused. That was the end.
That first creature we saw,
I said.
It looked just like the member of this team, Paulo Rodriguez. I had met him before at HQ once.
Everyone took that in.
You said earlier that those things are trying to complete something, Alex? Some kind of ritual of blood, no doubt.
Allison said.
In the Citadel a few minutes ago, that thing launched right past me. It could have killed me, but instead it just went past. If it needed blood, why would it ignore me?
Jared said.
The creature didn't kill Miles West either. Only Margaret. Hence why he was able to give this flash drive to me in the first place.
When you were there, Alex, you said that the creature wanted letters.
Allison said.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Were you able to translate those Latin characters earlier, Jared?
No, everything was too crazy, and that video is just too blurry to make out.
You're all still filming, right?
Allison continued.
My cam got wrecked when that thing dragged me off to the Citadel. My long-distance radio, too.
Riley said.
I'm still recording,
I said.
Great. Hook it up to the tablet and pause it on the murals.
I did as she asked, uploading it and finding the proper moment in the recording. I unplugged my helmet from the side and handed it over to Jared.
Do you think that you could translate that?
Allison asked. Jared looked over it.
Yeah, just give me a few minutes. All right, just hurry as much as you can. We need to make it back to camp and get out of here.
I thought it through while Jared read. Letters. Margaret. Oliver. Rachel. Sam. Letters. Latin. I had learned some in Catholic school as a child. Something stuck out to me after a few minutes.
Jared, isn't M-O-R-S a variant of the word death in Latin?
He was surprised.
Yeah, why?
Riley picked up the meaning.
The first letters of those people's names. Margaret, Oliver, Rachel, and Sam. What did that thing say? That your first letter will do?
She said. All of us paused while Jared confirmed.
Yeah, the first word on the wall is death. Morse,
he said.
There were 9 crosses, right? The first 4 are Morse. Then there are 5 more letters to account for.
Allison said.
Feels like we're playing hangman, except if we get it wrong, we all die.
Jared said.
It seems to make sense. But why would some ancient creature from hell need modern English letters to spell traditional Latin words? Why first names?
I asked.
That part was in the legends at least. What was it? The silken blood from the first names of the firstborns. I think all of us are the oldest siblings for our families, right?
Allison said. We all paused, nodding.
Except me. I'm the youngest,
Jared said.
And my Uncle Miles was a middle child,
Allison said.
That must be why they didn't go after you. For Miles, it was M, but they would have already had an M from Margaret. Maybe the others' names weren't right either,
Riley said.
But that one creature, it was the body of Paulo Rodriguez, right? Could that have something to do with why they could still use English? Maybe Paulo's lingual understanding was, I don't know, transmuted into the creature or something? I knew Paulo. Paulo spoke Spanish too. Both English and Spanish are child languages of Latin when you go back far enough. Could there be remnants of it left? Enough for it to count for their ritual?
Allison offered.
It's gotta be something weird like that. The rest of this video has too much emotion to read the last word. I don't really want to know what happens if they spell out their phrase, though,
Jared said.
When they tried to get Riley, she was hanging on the second cross from the right. That creature said that I was the last letter it needed.
I said.
So if we continue with this logic, we have 3 blank spaces and R.A.
Jared said.
It killed this guy's teammates,
I said. Even though I couldn't fully see Fairweather's face under the helmet, I read a distraught aura.
What's Moon's first name and Henderson's? They lied to us,
Fairweather said.
They lied. They said we wouldn't be in the ritual. We just had to ensure that no one else got out.
First names,
Allison growled.
Freya and Nancy.
Did you see where the creature hung them?
Riley asked me.
No, I didn't.
We all had our own thoughts, listening and watching for signs of the creature.
Infra,
Jared said after a moment.
The phrase must be Morse Infra.
The legends,
I muttered.
Death below,
Jared muttered. Riley chimed in.
That's great and all, but we still don't know what the rest of it means. Why are they doing this? What are they trying to accomplish?
my first name is Isaac.
Fairweather said.
It's true then. A reawakening. They want to make it all back up. They've been hiding for so long. All they needed was us. A little blood to get the cogs moving again. We're here because of HQ. They want to see what happens when it comes back.
By this point, it was clear Fairweather was cracking in the head.
They're trying to help these things by giving them the correct sacrifices?
I asked.
There were other squants like Charlie, and most of Beta without the proper letters.
Allison said, but she didn't sound too convinced.
Maybe they were testing the waters. No pun intended. And maybe with Alpha, they genuinely didn't know this would happen. When it did, though, they translated and are testing it based on the legends.
I said.
Well, what else do you know about this Fairweather?
Allison said.
Why were you supposed to complete the ritual?
Do you think they tell us anything? All I know is that we were supposed to make sure you didn't make it out and film the results.
If the things didn't go after people with the wrong name, why did it take Paulo?
Riley asked.
as a servant, to become one of those things. Don't you see?
Fairweather said. He worked himself up and screamed the last.
The Mother only has so much energy. She can only have 2 servants at a time until she wakes up.
We all froze as the words echoed down the water. Fairweather suddenly crawled towards Allison. I was ready to shoot, but the man started begging.
Please, take me with you out of here. I'll testify against HQ. I'll do whatever you need. Please.
Allison shoved him over.
We have to get back to camp. That's our only way out. Let's go.
Allison said.
What about him?
Jared said. Allison thought about it.
If he can keep up and stay quiet, he can come. Let's move. Those things will be here any moment now. Everyone, we're going lights off. Use night vision. I know some of you don't have much left, so conserve as much as you can.
We nodded, and so did Fairweather. All of his previous authority was gone. We sneakily swam through the city, Jared leading Fairweather while I led Riley. The things hadn't found us in that alcove, luckily. We were quick enough to get away. Somewhere through our journey, the last floodlight had been broken. Without those floodlights, and even with night vision on, it was difficult. Though it made it easier to see the silhouettes of the creatures darting above, looking for us. We paused whenever one was by. We were at the back end of the city soon, close to the mouth of this underground lake. Just then my suit battery clicked, and my night vision went out. It was pure darkness for me now. Underwater cave darkness.
God damn it.
I cursed as quietly as I could.
My night vision's out. Riley. I'll do my best,
she said. I felt that I could make out the hazy ghosts of the surroundings I had just been navigating, but I couldn't really. Despite Riley's leading, I bumped into things along the way. Allison paused our group.
Listen up. They're coming for us for sure, so be on your guard. We're going to be as quiet as we can be, and hopefully get out of this without a confrontation. Got it?
All of us probably nodded, but I couldn't see it.
Good. Let's go.
As we went up the hill to leave the city, we all heard the crawling, broken voice of those things.
Ice, Riley, Alex, come out, come out. If Alex can't play, come in his place, Allison. My night vision, it failed.
Fairweather muttered.
Mine's out too. Jared?
Riley said.
Coming. Can't promise good results leading 4 of us, though.
We were moving much slower now. Not just to be quieter, the 3 of us had to feel along the walls. The silence had fallen on us too, except now, I could hear something.
The generators are just up ahead,
I whispered. We all crawled up. The group's half-blindness made us as effective as infants, but we did make it. There was a sort of growlish clicking from the darkness ahead. I would have assumed it was the generators, but my gut dropped like bricks at that sound. Allison, or who I assume was Allison, pulled us all one by one against the nearby cave wall. At the back of the group, I heard Fairweather cry out as he tripped on one of the fallen lights. The growl in the dark turned almost into some kind of broken laughter. The thing hissed. Allison flipped on her headlamp. No point in hiding it now. The thing using Paulo's body lunged at Fairweather first, and his screaming echoed out. The rest of us ran for our lives, weapons in hand. Jared's lamp was on now. I flicked on my flashlight. We fired at the creature, but it wasn't bothered by anything we did. We had to run.
Go, go,
Allison said. We ran down the cave for long minutes, thinking that those things would jump us at any second. Doing it in diving gear wasn't just inappropriately comical, but tiring. It became quieter, and we made it back to camp. I thought that I could hear those creatures crawling in the walls. Without a word, we checked the drill. It was fully charged now, and Jared grabbed it.
What do we do about the rest of this stuff?
Jared said.
Leave it. We have to go.
Allison said.
Is there some kind of plan?
I asked and grabbed my rifle that I left behind earlier.
My best idea was running and escaping, but if you had something to add, I'd be glad to hear it.
Allison snapped. We did get some ammunition and took off our diving gear, but otherwise we left immediately. Felt weird to leave all of that expensive gear behind, but what could we do? We ran with all of the strength that our training gave us. Without that diving gear, I felt like the wind. I glanced behind me occasionally, but it was a bad idea. They were definitely following us now. I saw those creatures' heads popping out from the holes in the wall, gaining on us quickly as anything. I could almost hear the whispering of our names. We stopped as we made it to the cliff where the entrance was located. I wanted to take off my helmet, but it seemed like a bad idea.
Jared, get to work on that cave-in. Alex, Riley, weapons up. It's time to play whack-a-mole.
All of us shone our lights up at different areas of the walls. The small tunnels on them were intimidating now. As sudden as the action had been, it was quiet. We waited in it. Then we heard something call out from the depths. One of those things popped out, and all of us fired together. The thing squealed in pain and buried itself back into the hole. We could hear its skittering claws tacking against the inside cave. All of us watched frantically.
Easy now,
Allison said. Jared had climbed up and managed to start the drill. He was muttering just before he had started.
I don't believe in flesh monsters. I don't believe in flesh monsters.
When a creature's head popped up, the three of us fired together. It seemed to stall them, but they were getting closer. Inch by inch, they crept.
How's it going up there, Jared?
Allison shouted between gunshots and drilling.
Not as fast as I'd like,
Jared said.
Make sure you drill the anchoring rock. I know.
I dodged to the side as an arm tried to grab me from one of the holes. I had been a little too close to the wall. We were all slowly backing up until we were pushed against the cliff. Jared called into comms.
It's no use. I just don't have the time.
Allison cursed and then seemed to realize something quite important. She walked over to me. She took Moon's weapon from me, which had been strapped to my back, and handed me something else.
A grenade? We've had damn grenades this whole time?
I said.
Emergency force charge,
Allison said.
Only for emergencies, and not very helpful underwater anyway. Just remove the key, twist the cap, and it'll blow in 10 seconds. Get Riley up there and hide in that alcove on the side. I'll hold them back. Get that thing to Jared.
What about...
Don't waste time on this nonsense. That's an order. Now go!
Allison interrupted. I went to obey. Riley got on my back. Climbing at the weight of 2 people is not something I personally recommend. Without the small strength boost that these suits gave us, I doubt that I'd be able to do it. Allison dual-wielded rifles below, keeping the creatures back only with her might alone as I handed the charge to Jared. He looked at me like I was insane, but didn't raise a complaint. He followed the charge's setting instructions and stuck it in the middle of his drilling. We ran alongside the cliff to the small alcove off to the side and hid around the corner.
Here goes nothing. Or here goes all of us. We're not all gonna die, are we?
Jared said.
Die, you freaks!
We heard Allison scream as the charge blew. Dust and stone erupted from the cave entrance, and light burst from the outside. There was enough dust to breach temporarily through my suit filters, and I coughed while I waited for my head to stop ringing. The corner of the alcove had protected us, though. When it was settled, I peeked out over the floor below and saw the last skittering of one of the creatures escape from the outside light. One of them, the blind one, had been crushed by the rubble. Though if it was dead, I had no idea.
Allison?
Riley called out. There was nothing for a moment. Then we heard a small wheezing.
Here.
Jared and I climbed down and helped Allison out of the small rubble around her. We climbed up the cliff, Jared doing what I had done to help Riley, pulling Allison up the cliff. The four of us walked out together into the morning light. We took in fresh air as we removed our helmets. It seemed like that thing was afraid of the light out here and gave us the confidence to sit, treat what injuries we could, and rest.
It's over,
I said.
Yeah, I guess it is,
Allison said. Authorities did come to investigate the explosions. And that's where you know the rest. Who knows what will happen now? But that's our testimony against those bastards at HQ. Those things were 2 kills away from completing whatever ritual it was. I hope, we all hope, that those admins are put away for a long time and those caves stay sealed. All of this may sound unbelievable. Trust me, we know. But we saw what we saw. And if you ever went down there, you wouldn't come out. We still don't know what those things are, and what would have happened if they had completed it. How the entire city has lasted this long underwater. I still don't know why HQ packed us with weapons. Maybe there was someone looking out for us after all. In the end, though, I'm just glad that we made it out alive. And before you ask, no, I'll never go cave diving again. Case closed. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. Thank you for sticking with me and listening to the story Death Below. Don't let the shadows get too close.